Hello and welcome to post-match reaction to the Jaguares versus the Sharks. It finished 34-7 to the Jaguares, giving them the try bonus point win, securing them the Africa Conference and also probably securing, giving them odds-on favourites to make second place in the overall competition. So joining me to go through all of the action is Herman. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing very fine, so I might be a little bit tipsy because it's 4:30 here in Thailand, and I've been DJing at my local bar all night. But I did watch the game, the full game. But if I say anything stupid, you know the reason why.
Dear me, getting any excuses early.
Yeah.
We kicked off, and the game kicked off with both sides basically kicking for territory. Neither side early on wanted to play in their own half, and both wanted to use the kick to do that. Eventually, not eventually, really. On 2 minutes, that meant that the Jaguares were in the Sharks' territory, and quick hands. And suddenly an overlap and the wingers in the corner. I mean, they used their width today, didn't they, the Jaguares?
Yes, they do. And I think you can probably use this own cliche from rugby, like they really work hard to earn the right to go wide. They really do it, like constantly. It's been a feature for the whole season.
Yeah, and it was interesting also that there were lots of chips in behind. I mean, we've seen a lot of kicking to score tries this weekend. I mean, the Crusaders scored something like 3 or 4 tries with crossfield kicks. Jaguares here were trying their chips through and little grubbers through to exploit that little space behind the Sharks' defence. Didn't really come off until right down the end of the game, but it kept the Sharks guessing the whole time on defence.
It did. So, but isn't it like kind of easy to go into too easy conclusions about things when you see RGs kicking a ball? Like if they do it well, like yeah, of course they're Argentinians, of course they can kick the ball.
Well, yeah, but we're there. We are. We're going back to a couple of cliches, aren't we? Because that's how they got themselves second place in the World Cup in France, was by kicking it high and chasing it. But that's over a decade ago now. The other cliche we have about Jaguares is they have a good scrum, and yet they've got the lowest win percentage of scrums in the competition. The Argentinian style of play has evolved massively over the last 15 or so years.
And the last 4 years is actually when things really have changed. And I don't know if any other ones watching is listening to the Short Ball, I think it's called, with Scotty Stevenson and Ellie Williams podcast.
Yep.
I mean, I know Ashwin, our dear friend Ashwin, is not a fan, but I am a fan. I can tell. And it was actually Ellie Williams who raised a fair point. Like, how do you go from in 4 years' time being this pretty forward-oriented team to basically be Kiwi level in your backline skills?
Well, I think it's been a bit longer than 4 years, because I remember when the Jaguares joined the Super Rugby, and they beat 4 years ago. 4 years ago, beating the Cheetahs.
It was Los Pumas joined the Rugby Championship 8 years ago.
Yeah, but 4 years ago, Jaguares beat the Cheetahs in their opening game, and we all saw this massive offloading game that they were playing at the time. Now they don't offload so much now, but they do still use their backs. It's a different style of play, but it's still using width and still running. So I think it's probably over the last 8 kind of years that we've seen that transformation rather than just the last 4. But getting I've gone blank as to the ex All Blacks coach that came on as a consultant for a while.
Yeah,
Graham Henry. Kind of helps.
Sorry for interrupting you, Paul, because there's a great story about him. But allegedly, what he said, when he had his first strategic meeting with the top brass in Argentina, and they talked we're gonna make up a strategy. So what are we gonna change? What do we need to do? And we asked Ted, Sir Graham, and he just was blunt and said, "You got to learn to score more tries." And obviously, they listened to him. They did. And
Buffelli then wraps around and darts through a gap to secure the second, to score the second try. That made it 12-0 after 14 minutes. And the Sharks weren't helping themselves. I mean, it was all Jaguares in that first 20 minutes. High tackles, turning over the ball, those kind of things were giving the Jaguares the opportunity to go and score these tries and get themselves in the lead. Personally, I thought the Sharks got a bit lucky after that. At the restart, their player took the catcher out in the air, and he landed on his lower back, admittedly. But I thought that could have been yellow card.
You wanted a yellow card, yeah. I thought so too.
So a bit surprised they got away with that one, but they did. Then then the Sharks sort of came back into the game and had long periods of possession and territory, because it ended up being 50-50 at the end of that first half. But they just couldn't break down what was some very good defence by the Jaguares. The Jaguares did get a couple of opportunities, but they decided that actually it was a good idea to start getting the scoreboard ticking over and started taking pots at goal, because the Sharks were giving up penalties.
Not so successfully, though. We missed like 3 shots at goal in a row.
And as you say, they missed 3 shots at goal in a row. And so my halftime tweet read, Jaguares 12, missed kicks 11. Oh, and the Sharks happen to be playing 2.
How can you be so rude, Paul? How can you be...
Perhaps a little bit harsh, but yeah, it could easily have been a 20-odd-0 score at half time. And you kind of think, and the commentators say, oh yes, they've been clinical, blah blah blah. And you're like, really? They've left a whole bunch of points out there. They could come to regret that in the second half.
True. But I think this hurts my heart, because we suffer commentators. I'm not a fan, but what I think we meant, like, if there was anything that was clinical and masterclass about this game, it was the Jaguars' defense, because I think Sharks in the overall stats they had more territory and more possession, but the Jaguars they were just awesome on defense today. We hardly missed any tackles, and all of us who watched earlier in the day the Crusaders Rebels, and it was for sure a masterclass by the Crusaders, but it also, you could see, like, the Rebels played, no one trusted the other man next to them. Everyone tried to do it by themselves, and here you have a complete opposite, like a completely defense who's in complete cohesion. Everyone trusted their next guy to each other, and I mean, it was almost like Shark was actually lucky to get that try in the end. I think almost the Jaguars deserved to have a donut to shut them out.
Yeah, very true. The Jaguars were tackling very well. I'm just trying to bring up the stats.
Do you have any stats yet? How many
not quite yet.
Can you see the missed tackle stats?
So it's 8.
I saw like 5 missile tackles, maybe.
No, it's towards the end of the Jaguars. Once the game was won, they missed a few, but it was 88% tackling by the Jaguars, 87% by the Sharks in the end. The Sharks were about that level all the way through, whereas Jaguars missed most of their tackles in the last few minutes. 115 made, 131 attempted, so about 16 missed by the Jaguars. But as I say, they were all late in the game when it didn't really matter too much.
Fair enough. Yeah, because it looked like a 95% performance. Right? Actually, I couldn't watch the last 3-4 minutes because I had to go back from a bar to be able to make it.
And another stat that will be misleading for people when they actually look at the overall stats of the game is 11 penalties each. And again, it might have finished 11 penalties each, but it was about 5-11 at one point, which meant the Jaguars had already got the points on the board, had already got themselves in the lead, and they took advantage, had the penalties when they needed them from the Sharks and where they needed them. Whereas by the time the Jaguars were giving up penalties, it was again all in that last quarter when the game was well and truly lost. But
just to be clear, I think the referee had far from a shocker in this one. Yeah, he might miss the yellow card, but overall I felt like he had a pretty decent game control.
Yeah, I was happy with the referee. Yeah, I say a difference of opinion as to whether that should have been yellow or not. That's fine. But apart from that, I was comfortable with him. He picks up things like blocking of the kicker, catching it, taking out the kicker as he's a kick and chase, and I like that kind of thing, because those sort of cheap shots and those sort of things are the kind of stuff we need to get out of rugby, because it just makes players frustrated, and then it boils up as well. And that's exactly what we got on 43 minutes, blocking the kicker by the as the Jaguares kicked downfield, and the Jaguares then went over to score, sorry, not go over to score. They got a penalty, and they knocked over the 3 to get that scoreboard ticking over after half time, making it 15-0. The Sharks then went through the phases, and in all honesty, the Sharks had a pretty good second half. The problem for them was Buffelli was playing. Because we ended up having a bit of a kick, bit of kick tennis, about 2 or 3 kicks. Then suddenly up goes a high one. Buffelli chases it, collects it, and runs in to score a try. And if you do get one of those high long kicks, and you collect, and basically you have 2 players jumping for it, the player who collects it, then there's no cover defence. If the attacking player gets it, he got it and went in to score. And so it was a little bit against the run of play at that point, to be honest. And suddenly it's 22-0. Again.
Yeah, and that's game over there. It really is game over there.
It was.
And it's all of a sudden, they need to score 4 times after that. And it's that, with that kind of Jaguars defense, it was never going to happen. Not even a miracle. This
also means that then basically at this point, all the Sharks trying to do is stop the Jaguares from getting a bonus point, because obviously playoffs are coming into a big thing here. But then another kick goes up. All the players let it bounce. It bounces horribly for both sides. Bosch could easily have collected that on the bounce and scored a try. In the end, Buffelli collects it after about 2 bounces. He makes the break, and suddenly, I'm going to butcher this name, sorry, Cancelleri, I think it is, scored in the corner for his second try, and it's 29-0. And you're thinking, hey, are they going to go all the way and get the bonus? We'll have to wait and see. But the Sharks had opportunities to kick threes. They didn't take them. They kicked the corner. Eventually, line out Maul.
Obviously, when you don't do it.
Because at this point, the only thing they could get was stopping that try bonus point. So line out Maul got stopped. Esterhazen on the angle. Over he goes, 29-7, and with 30 minutes to go. The one thing I will say is that both teams were playing.
Oh, it was not 30 minutes to go when Sharks scored a try. They scored a try like in minute 65 or something like that.
So 13, 1-3.
Oh, 13. I thought you said 30. Sorry.
So 13 minutes to go.
I'm tipsy. That's my first.
Sorry. The one thing about both these teams is they both kept playing to the end at pace, which I liked. I mean, this wasn't. They neither side tired towards the end. They both were going for it, which was great to see. But we did have quite a lot of injury breaks in this game. I guess that's the only thing I would sort of criticise the ref for is not speeding those up. But I guess you got to look after the players. But we did have quite a few injury breaks, but nobody actually go off properly injured, as it were. So. Yeah,
it was fair point, Paul, because there was a fair few were like lying down when you thought, oh, that's like season over. And then 2 minutes after, they were like up like maybe, if I may say, like a tad much too much like smell of soccer or football there, like lying down like you did, and all of a sudden you have just that cold spray on the knee, and all of a sudden,
there wasn't diving like that, but there were definitely
no, but lying down.
It's quite often, especially before a scrum, a prop will take a knee to give everyone a rest. It felt like that. There definitely were rest breaks in this one for injuries. And then in the end, say on the 80th minute, we had the grubber through, and the other winger, I've gone blank as to his name, scored in the other corner. So suddenly it was 34-7 to finish the game. So a couple of questions in the chat about what that means for the overall conference. What that basically means is that the Jaguares now are second in the table. They have the Sunwolves next weekend, which means they should get a try bonus point, which means they should secure that second place. So the Jaguares will have a home quarterfinal, and if they win that, a home semi-final.
Yep.
There are no South African teams in the top 4 because the Hurricanes will take that 4th place, meaning there will be no home quarterfinals or no home playoff games at all in South Africa.
We might get 3 teams into the playoffs.
But they still might get 3 teams into the playoffs. Yes, well, what I will be doing later today is I'll be going through all the combinations, figuring it all out, and I'll be doing a video exclusively for my Patreon saying who needs to do what in the last round of the game. So down below, there's a link to patreon.com/DrivingMaul. I'll be putting a video out there, as I say, to tell people exactly who needs what from the last round in the competition. So go down there. It's only $1 a month and helps me to bring you all this free content. So the stats very even, but as you say, it came down to that tackling early doors. And we should have a quick look at the stats to see who got through the big shifts defensive-wise for the Jaguares. And
who was the tackle king?
So Matera with 13 was a tackle king, but Leguizamon with 11 and Lavanini with 11 as well also got through a chunk of work in there. Chaparro, who came on as a sub, and Montoya, who came on as a sub, also got through 8 and 7 tackles.
Oh, that's good, because they only played like 30 minutes.
Yeah, so they came. So the energy off the bench was important tonight. As I say, it kept the pace kept up all the way through to the end. So you needed those players to come on and do big shifts.
So that's sort of been the theme of the Jaguars for the whole season. I mean, if it's like one specific area where you can see that they, I mean, first of all, we have to mention that they do blood a lot of new players, young players, only have like 1-2 caps for the Los Pumas, so we should not say like there's all test and tried guys. But they do have a few guys in every single time, like who are proper test players to bring through from the bench. So probably with Crusaders could be in the discussion too, but Jaguars probably have the strongest bench in Super Rugby this season, because they don't lose a breath when they start putting on players from the bench.
And they have always the whole time they've been around, they have rotated their players well, and therefore used the whole squad. So all the squad has some Super Rugby experience, rather than just trying to keep with a set 15. On the defensive side for the Sharks, we had to have some good turnout. I mean, Esterhazen 11 tackles, only 1 missed. Both are 11 tackles, no missed. Vermeulen 10 tackles, 12 missed. But then Paul, the flanker, 4 missed tackles plus 9 made. That 4 missed tackles, not very clever. There for him. On the attacking side of things, and the person I'm going to have to look at straight away is Buffelli. And Buffelli, only 108 metres.
But Buffelli, okay, sorry, I have to. This is not only this game. I'm gonna stick my shin out big time now, because I'm watching pretty much every game in Super Rugby. I'm doing that for many years now, and for the last 2 seasons, little bit because Ben Smith had been actually injured a lot, because Ben Smith for sure has been the best fullback in the world, and he might still be if he's like fully fledging. But if you look at pure performance in Super Rugby the last 2 seasons, I would say that Buffelli is the best fullback in Super Rugby. He is. I mean, have anyone ever seen him make any kind of mistake? No. I mean, and what is, I want to ask you actually. I'm curious about it, because what is your opinion about Buffelli? I mean, how do you rate him? Is he class, or like very good, or is he actually world class in your opinion?
He's definitely class. I mean, that's and he is very good. And if we're talking about, let's see, if we're talking about the best sort of fullbacks in the world, you've obviously got Ben Smith. You would have had Folau until he's been sacked. If we come north of the hemisphere, Rob Kearney does very well positionally, and doesn't get the recognition he should. Stuart Hogg, as you say, and Lee Halfpenny to me tends to get his head in the wrong place, tackling too often, not gets himself knocked out. So I'm not a fan of, I'm not as big a fan as Lee Halfpenny, but I know a lot of people are. But Buffelli, I mean, if you look at his running, as you say, safe under the high ball, and his running is up there with Hogg, with Ben Smith for those breaks. Yeah, he should be in the conversation.
He is in my opinion. He is in my opinion. And I wanted to ask you another thing, Paul, because you are probably more level-headed than me than I am in this thing. One thing that it's been like started already the last season, but this season is getting like, it's almost remarkable. Look at how the Jaguars have changed in the way we report for the referee. it's like it's so clear that you can see because we referee talk among with each other, and basically Jaguares had the rumors being like the thugs and being pretty nasty with the referee, and now you can almost see like the referees like it's almost like Jaguares quite often get the rub of the green simply because they don't protest that. Even if they get unfair calls, they don't make any any kind of fuss about it at all anymore.
They don't. I mean, the other thing they've got against them is that when the referee is coaching, which I mean, some of us aren't great fans of, it's always done in English. And so, hence they're having to listen to all of this in their second language. Now, to be fair to the South Africans, quite a few of them have English as a second language as well, but they are more exposed to it. I mean, a lot of them will speak Afrikaans as a first language, and that's what they hear all day in, day out. So South Africa isn't as English as English language. Sorry, is what I'm kind of getting at, as people think. But for the Jaguares,
but it's
clearly
more than Argentina.
It's more than Argentina. I agree. Yeah,
a lot more. I mean.
It's
remarkable how they change the culture, like because that's culture in the team, how you work with the referee.
It is. I mean, and someone like Lavanini, for example, 2 seasons ago, was a yellow card every game. I mean,
he was a yellow card machine.
Absolutely. He's turned his game around brilliantly over the last 2 seasons, and is no longer that. We were talking about Buffelli, so he had 3 clean breaks, but then again, so did. Cancelleri and so did Correas on the had 2 on the other side. So all the clean breaks were out wide today, and the Jaguares really used that width very well for those guys. A couple of shouts in the comment about camera angles and etc. And yes, clearly the cameramen in South Africa. And the directors, in South America, and the directors, etc., don't have the same experience as the other countries, and so the camera work can sometimes be a little bit, not as good as the other places. So I understand why some people are saying, that it's not such fun to watch the games from South America, but the play is fantastic. Matera got through a lot of running, as did Kramer and Lavanini. They use their forwards a lot. To carry that ball, you say, to earn the right to go wide, and when they did, they punished them and did very well.
Yeah.
Why is Kerwin Bosch playing at 15?
Well, because you know the name of a head coach of the Sharks.
Name of the head coach of the Sharks happens to be also the same name as the number 10, Robert de Preer.
Yeah. I mean, maybe that's a bit far-fetched, but. I've been listening to a fair few Shark fans during the week, and they were not happy with Robert de Preer starting as a fly-half this week.
No, absolutely not. And you got to say that.
I mean, I think all the Sharks good for the first 15 minutes. First 15 minutes, he didn't even have one single touch of the ball, I think.
And that was all Jaguares at that point. But every single good result we've seen from the Sharks has been with Kerwin Bosch at 10. Yeah. It's a bit like the Chiefs. When the Chiefs had Damon McKenzie at 10, they weren't performing. When they put him back to 15, suddenly things were working much better. There are certain players who you have to put in certain positions, and Bosch is one you need at 10, as far as the Sharks are concerned.
Yeah. Yes.
So yes, I mean, to me that was a bad decision straight up. Mapimpi got through a chunk of work on attack. And they also tried with Paul and de Preer in the 8, not the Dan de Preer, not Robert de Preer, to carry the ball through their forwards. But the Jaguares were up to that, and they didn't make much headway. And Pimpy was the only one that got more than one clean break in this game. And you've got to say, that basically, we were talking about earlier, the defence of the Jaguares was fantastic.
Yes, it is. I mean, shouldn't we praise it a little bit more? Because I thought, obviously, the big talking point of the day is for sure is Crusaders clinical, where we actually to destroy the rebels. But pretty close up to the Crusaders was Jaguars' defense today, because we didn't keep a clean sheet, but we were pretty close to doing it, and they looked really solid for the full 80 on defense today. Really solid. I mean, and that's probably a nice thing to bring with you into the playoffs.
Absolutely, it is. They weren't as clinical on attack as I think the commentators were suggesting, but
Agree.
But the Jaguares, they had Buffelli, who came up with moments of genius tonight, and that's really what got the scoreboard to explode in that second half, or to go out too far. So yes. But defensively, the Jaguares have got, and it's defence that wins championships, not attack, as they say. And I think I've lost Herman, so hopefully he comes back on the old Skype there. But we were near the end of the show anyway. Thank you very much for everyone for joining us. We'll be back next week, straight after the Jaguares versus Sunwolves game. It's a day earlier. It's on the Saturday and not the Sunday, from a New Zealand time zone point of view. So join us for post-match reaction to that game. And have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you.